Hi, so in this video we're going to look at IT management roles and responsibility. So in general, all the roles that an IT manager plays and all the things that he or she takes care of are basically the same things that any other manager is supposed to look at. So we'll look at what IT manager specifically looks at, as well as the general things that any manager would have to look at, regardless of which environment or which department you're working in. So when we're now looking at management, we've got various levels of management. We have the strategic level of management, where we have our chief information officers and our chief technology officers, where they look at the strategic direction of the business. Then we have our middle level managers, which are usually our general managers, our head of departments and the like, and those are usually responsible for the allocation of resources. That is, they're responsible for budgets, cost containment, and the resource allocation. And then we have our line managers at the bottom, where these ones are now looking at how to actually implement certain duties and how they're actually going to be effected in the organization to provide value to the organization. So in general, an IT manager manages a team of IT staff, and whose roles could be different. There could be a manager for developers, a manager for analysts, and a manager for systems administrators and the like. There could be a manager for each role in the department. So this manager will be responsible for evaluating if the systems that are actually being maintained by the team or being developed by the teams are actually functioning as required. They can also be looking at how the users of those systems are actually gaining value. So at the end of the day, managers they evaluate the value that is coming from the systems to the user. So they can consult the users to see if whatever is being developed or being implemented by IT is actually providing value to those guys. They're also responsible for the selection and purchasing of hardware and software to make sure that we are choosing the right hardware that is cost effective and that also delivers the right performance, as well as the software that can actually provide the right functionality for the various roles and responsibilities in the organization. They're also responsible for budgeting. So budgets, whilst they are really the mainstay of the middle managers, they apply across all managers, and they make sure that they have the right resources for whatever task they're doing. They also make sure that they are adhering to licenses and license laws, if there are any. So if there are any license contracts that have been drafted with various vendors or software and hardware suppliers, it's the responsibility of the managers to make sure that they are not violating those contracts and they are sticking to using those systems and licenses in the amounts that they were agreed, as well as for the tasks that they agreed for. They're also responsible for implementing and managing security, as well as making sure that all the backups are available and the backup procedures are done well. So this is yet another function that could require a manager, that is security of an organization, backups. We could talk of business continuity, having managers. There could be process and IT governance managers also coming into play. So the various functions of IT all require managers at one time or the other. And it also depends on the size of the organization. So you realize that some organizations really require senior management, middle management, and line managers. But in some organizations, which are not as big, they may just require the top manager, who could be a managing director, and then the line managers. And in some organizations, they'll just require one person who played the part of all the three levels of the managers. And that person at times may also be involved in actually doing the day-to-day work. So these management roles and these management responsibilities also depend on the kind of organization that is looking for an IT manager. There could be numerous managers for different functions, and there could also be one manager for all the functions, depending on the size of the organization. So the manager is also responsible for making sure that upgrades and updates are well scheduled. They provide training to users. They give support and advice, and as well as getting feedback from those users and making sure that the feedback is eventually implemented if it's something that is possible and within their realm. IT managers are also responsible for making sure that systems are tested before they're implemented. So they have to make sure that the change management process is also followed when they're implementing those modified systems. And they're also responsible for making sure that the organization at any one time is using the appropriate technology. So at times, the appropriate technology may mean having new technology, but at times it just means making sure that we have got the right technology that's delivering the quality of service that is expected by the clients of the IT department. Then the managers also are responsible for training the new staff. Whoever is a new recruitee has to be trained in their role, and it is responsible of the manager to make sure that they get the requisite training they require, as well as coming up with the various procedures and processes that are going to be followed by their subordinates during their work and their operations. On top of those IT specific issues, a manager is generally just expected to be motivational, to coach and to develop his or her fellow subordinates. Then they're also supposed to be good communicators. They should be able to present and speak well and be able to articulate their matters in a clear and concise manner to senior management, so that whatever they want is not either lost in translation or is not said in such a way that it loses support from senior management. Managers are also supposed to influence. They're supposed to build relationships. They're supposed to be able to play the politics of the company, so that at times you may just lose out on advancing your cause simply because you don't understand who has the power in the organization. And managers are supposed to be able to read that kind of context and be able to know who to talk to get the kind of leverage they require. Then managers, on top of being IT savvy, they should also understand what strategy is all about, both at corporate and IT level. They should be able to understand how to make decisions, the decision-making process, as well as the workflow within the organization and the various business functions within that organization. More so, they should be able to budget. That is, they should be able to allocate resources well to whatever task or project is being done. They should be able to forecast the future costs or lack thereof that may come into the company as the company progresses, either in a financial year or in the short to long term periods. Then they should also be able to manage the cash flow. They should understand that as money comes in, it should be spent in a way that allows it to continue generating more money, as well as taking care of all the expenses in their section. Then they should obviously understand financial statements so that they can see if the money they are spending is actually less or more than what they are actually generating, as well as being able to interpret those reports to see if they are actually getting value for money from the investments, from the IT investments that they could have made. Then also an IT manager should be good at project management, because there will be a lot of projects that will be at hand. So there are so many other things that a manager should be able to do, including this, being able to identify policies, maintain corporate policies, respond to bugs, and make sure that there are no downtimes in systems, etc. But the key thing is to remember that the IT manager's job is to make sure that the IT goals are being achieved. They have got the right team in place. They are containing costs. They are creating systems that are effective and efficient. They make sure that they go through all the change processes. They follow all the IT governance frameworks or IT governance standards that have been set for them, and they make sure that everything they do is within the budgets that they have set. And they should also make sure that their employees are motivated, are trained, they are well paid, and they are providing value to the organization by hiring the right people for each job. So the last thing that we need to look at is the role of the Chief Information Officer. In short, we can just say the role of the Chief Information Officer is basically strategic. They look at the IT department from a strategic perspective. That is, they are the ones responsible for making sure that the IT strategy is meeting and helping in achieving the corporate strategy. So the CIO looks at things from a strategic perspective, makes sure that we are choosing the right technologies for whatever systems, be they internal or customer facing, that we are going to implement. They have to make sure that we have the right processes that are being followed. We have the right IT organizational structure or IT management structure in place. They also need to make sure that all the projects are being done and they're being achieved on time. They should be able to analyze costs, contain those costs, and be able to allocate resources dynamically as and when they are required, or be able to actually foresee and forecast the future. So you find that the requirements of an IT manager may just differ based on the level of management, whether it's senior management, middle management, or line managers. But at the end of the day, what is expected of them is not so different. They are all supposed to understand the strategy. They're all supposed to understand finances. They're all supposed to have project management skills, and they should be people who motivate their employees and make sure that they are well equipped to do all their work. So generally, the CIO is just a strategic leader of the IT department. We make sure that the IT department at any one time is achieving the strategic goals of the organization. So that's all I have on IT management for now. Thank you very much.